Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new to this channel, my name is Frank Zhu and I'm a college professor teaching sociology, history and philosophy. I'm also an award-winning landscape photographer. Not long ago, I posted a couple of videos in which I talked about personality. In those videos, I explained what personality is, how important it is, and how you can assess your personality. I also talked about how personality is related with the social media. I promised that I would create more videos discussing various theories which are used to explain how we develop our personalities. Today's video is one of those videos that I promised to make. But first, let me pose a couple of questions to you, especially to those of you who didn't watch the previous videos about personality. Number one, what kind of person do you think you are? Are you a shy person or an outspoken person? A talkative person or a person of few words? Number two, why do you think you have become the kind of person as you think you are? Is it because you inherited it from your parents, or is it because you learned it from your teachers, friends, or colleagues? Well, if you have watched my previous videos, you will know that those questions are about personality. And personality is a subject of study for social scientists such as psychologists and sociologists. In their pursuit for answers to those questions, many sociologists and psychologists have produced many theories. Today, as a professor of sociology myself, I'm going to introduce to you a very interesting and well-known theory, namely psychoanalytic theory. Psychoanalytic theory, which is also known as psychoanalysis, was developed by Sigmund Freud, who was a very famous German research scientist and psychologist. He has been considered as one of the most important, most influential, and controversial thinkers of the 20th century. Even today, his influence can still be felt in academia worldwide. Throughout his life, Freud engaged himself in research and wrote prolifically about his theory and technique of psychoanalysis and how his theory could be used to understand society, culture, and ourselves. In today's video, I will focus on how his theory may be used to explain the development of personality. Freud's theory is not as difficult to understand as some people may think. As the name suggests, the word psychoanalysis is a combination of two words, psyche, which means the mind, and analysis. So, obviously, the theory is all about how to analyze the human mind, which, according to him, controls what we do and how we do it. To understand a person's personality in general and their behavior in particular, therefore, all we need to do is to study the mind. As a psychologist, Freud spent his whole life studying the human mind. According to him, the human mind is composed of three parts: the it, the superego, and the ego. Let me explain them one by one. First, the basic part of personality is what he called the it. According to him, behind every human action is the it, which is present from birth, and it consists of deep animal impulses. The most important impulse, according to him, is the gratification of sexual desire. Freud used the word libido to refer to this basic human sexual drive. By the way, the word libido originated from Latin, literally meaning desire. Essentially, according to him, it is the libido that drives people to do whatever they do and however they do it. Therefore, a person's personality can be understood by analyzing how the libido plays the role. The second component, the superego, represents the standards of society. Freud claimed that the superego is the last component of personality to develop, usually around the age of 5. It is what we call conscience or ethics in our daily language. In other words, it is our moral standard and the sense of right and wrong. But before I go on to explain the third component, let us have a look at how these two components, the it and the superego, interact with each other in the mind. To illustrate his point, let's use a hypothetical example. Suppose you are a young man and you see a pretty young girl passing by. You are attracted to her so much you will feel as if you heard a voice telling you, "She's so beautiful, why don't you go up and talk to her or hug her?" That voice is the it. But at the same time, you will also feel as if you heard another voice saying to you, "No, don't do it, or you know you will face the consequences." That other voice is the superego. So this is how they interact with each other. The it wants instant gratification of your desire, while the superego tells you that you must behave in socially acceptable ways. So Freud said the it is always in conflict with the superego. The it generates the wild and mostly sexual impulse, but society requires people to repress such impulse because we have learned that we should have morals. Therefore, people cope with the tension between social expectations and their impulses by developing some kind of defense mechanisms, such as repression, avoidance, or denial. This is a reason why some people are considered as crazy, because they failed to adjust themselves to behave in a socially acceptable way. To be a normal person, that is, to have a healthy personality, you have to achieve a certain balance. And that brings us to the third component of personality, ego. The ego is the result of balancing the it and the superego. It adapts the desires of the it to the social expectations of the superego. To put it simply, the ego is the real you. What kind of person you are is determined by how the pendulum tilts. If the it in you is stronger than the superego, you become outspoken and bold because you are more controlled by your impulse. If it is the other way around, you become shy. Basically, that's how you become what you are, according to psychoanalytic theory. It is how you balance the animal instinct and social expectations. This explains why some young men become speechless in front of beautiful girls, because the superego in their body suppresses the it. They would tell themselves, "I don't want to say anything in front of her because if I say something wrong, she will laugh at me and everybody will laugh at me." When you are too conscious of what other people will say about your behavior, you are afraid of doing anything. You become shy. By now, you may argue by saying that you have never experienced the conflicts between the id and the superego in your mind. This is because Freud claimed such conflict only occurs in the subconscious mind. Normally, you are not aware of it, but once in a while you get a glimpse of the unconscious mind in dreams and in occasional slips of the tongue. For example, a man was describing a party he went to last night to his female co-worker. He said, "It was a gorgeous dinner party. There were 6 people at the party." Well, please notice he said the word 6, but surely he had intended to say 6. Obviously, that was the slip of the tongue. But why? Freud would explain to you the use of the word sex in this sentence shows that either the memory of a girl at the party or the female co-worker he was speaking with right now was causing warm sexual thoughts to lurk in his unconscious mind. Such a slip of the tongue, according to Freud, reveals the underlying tension between the id and the superego that exists in the mind. In fact, Freud claimed sexual thoughts are behind every human action, regardless of their age or gender. Although Freud had already established a high reputation and had a large following, when he published his theory at the beginning of the 20th century, it stirred big waves of controversies and criticisms. At a time when the topic of sex was a taboo, many people found his discussions of libido offensive. Later on, however, his psychoanalytic theory became so popular, and it was widely discussed not only among academics, but also among ordinary people. Nowadays, opinions about his theory are divided, especially about his claim that sexual impulse was the driving force behind every human behavior. His opponents dismissed it as bizarre, but some people think it is interesting. In the view of his supporters, this theory actually makes sense. Well, that is all for this video. But before I go, I'd like to point out the influence of Freud's theory of psychoanalysis by noting that some of Freud's words have entered the English vocabulary, such as the word libido and the phrase, the Freudian slip of the tongue. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.